The current had come out of nowhere, a sudden, violent surge that tore the reins from my hands and sent my horse shrieking into the spray. One moment I was crossing the river like I had 100 times before, and the next I was tumbling through icy water, the world nothing but chaos, pain, and the roar of the flood. My head struck something hard, a rock maybe, and the light snapped out. When it came back, everything was wrong. The air felt thick in my lungs, the sand cold beneath my palms. I tried to push myself up, but my arms shook uselessly. My vision blurred, and all I could make out was a shadow moving near the firelight. A woman's figure, long dark hair, wrapped in braids that swayed as she crouched beside me. For a second, I thought maybe I was dead and she was some spirit come to claim me. But then her hands touched my chest, warm, real, alive, and the sting of pain reminded me that I was still in this world. "Don't move," she said. Her voice was low, soft but edged with command. "You fight, you bleed." I blinked, trying to focus on her face. She wasn't old, maybe in her 30s, but there was a heaviness in her eyes that came from years, not age. She wore a blanket of thick wool, frayed at the ends, and her skin glowed bronze in the firelight. "Where am I?" I croaked, my throat raw as desert sand. "On Apache land," she replied. "You were in the river. The river almost took you." Her English was rough, accented, but her meaning was clear. She turned away to stir the small fire, then lifted a pot from the coals. Steam rose, carrying the smell of herbs and something bitter. My stomach growled despite the pain. "Drink," she said, holding a clay cup to my lips. I obeyed, the liquid scalding but strangely soothing. It burned on the way down, yet the warmth spread through me, steadying my heartbeat. "You pulled me out?" I asked. Her eyes met mine for the first time. They were dark, deep, and still, like a night pond untouched by wind. "Yes," she said simply. "The river wanted you. I did not let it." "Why?" She didn't answer right away. She looked toward the current just beyond the trees, its faint murmur echoing through the quiet. "Because it took my husband," she said at last. "It will not take another." The fire popped, sending sparks into the cool air. I watched her as she sat across from me, her face lit orange by the glow. There was grief in her stillness, in the way she kept her hands busy though there was nothing left to do. She moved like someone used to silence, used to pain that never left. I tried to sit up, but a sharp jab of pain made me gasp. She was beside me in an instant, pressing a hand against my ribs. "Fool," she muttered, "you break your bones more." I wanted to laugh, but it hurt too much. "Guess I owe you more than I can repay." "You owe me nothing," she said quickly. "You breathe, that is enough." Her words were simple, but they held weight. She wasn't saving me for gratitude. She was saving me because she couldn't bear to see the river win again. Night came fast in the valley. The fire dimmed, the sound of crickets filled the dark. She spread an animal hide over me, rough but warm, and then sat beside the flames. I watched her silhouette, the steady rhythm of her breathing, the way her eyes never left the water. "What do I call you?" I asked quietly. She hesitated. "I am Nanton's widow," she said at last. "That is enough." I didn't know who Nanton was, but I didn't need to. The sorrow in her voice told me everything. She'd lost the man she loved to the same river that had almost claimed me. When sleep finally came, I dreamed of water, cold, dark, pulling me under, but each time, a hand reached through the current and dragged me back toward the light. When I woke, she was still there, humming softly in a tongue I didn't understand. The melody was haunting, beautiful, like a prayer whispered to the wind. Over the next day, she fed me, tended my wounds, and said little. Every motion was careful, patient. She never smiled, but her quiet care said more than words could. By the time the pain dulled, I'd realized something strange. The fear I'd felt when I first opened my eyes beside that fire had faded, replaced by something else, something that felt like peace. She'd saved me once from drowning, but lying there beneath her watchful gaze, I knew she was saving me from something deeper, the emptiness I'd been carrying long before the river ever took me. The rains had passed, and the river ran calm again, glinting gold under the morning sun. I rode alongside it, the horse's hooves muffled in the damp earth, my heart heavier with every mile. A month had passed since I last saw her, the woman who had dragged me from the river's grip, who had patched me together and sent me back into the world like it meant something again. I told myself I was just checking the fences, but each turn of the trail betrayed me. I was following something deeper than duty. The wind carried the scent of wood smoke before I saw it. A thin line of gray curled up from the trees near the bend. My stomach tightened. I reined the horse to a slow walk, eyes scanning through the brush. Then I saw the hut, small, built from logs and mud, half hidden by the cottonwoods. She was there, crouched by the stream, filling a clay jar with water. For a long moment, I couldn't move. She looked the same, yet different, her braids shorter, her face leaner, her movements slower, like the world had pressed down harder on her since I left. When she straightened and turned, her eyes met mine, and the jar slipped from her fingers, shattering against the stones. "You came back," she said, the words barely louder than the river itself. "I did," I said, dismounting. "Couldn't stay away." She stared at me as if weighing whether I was ghost or man. Then she looked past me to the horse, to the saddle heavy with supplies. "You are healed," she said finally. "Mostly," I replied, rubbing my ribs with a grin. "Can't thank you enough for that." Her gaze hardened, though I saw the faint tremble in her hands. "You already thanked me." By living. I took a step closer. That didn't feel like enough. The air between us went still. The river murmured beside us, soft and low, like it didn't dare interrupt. She turned her face away, toward the hut. "You should not be here. My people will not like it." "I didn't come for them," I said. Her back stiffened. "Then why?" I hesitated, searching for words that made sense. How could I explain the emptiness that had followed me home? How the ranch, the land, even the wide open skies had felt hollow without her quiet presence. "Because when I left, something stayed behind," I said finally. "Something I can't seem to live without." She turned then, and her eyes met mine, sharp, searching. "You speak foolish words," she said, though her voice cracked in the middle. "A widow does not take another. It is forbidden." "Then let them call it foolish," I said. "But it doesn't change what's true." For a long time, she said nothing. She just stood there, looking at me like she was seeing straight through the man I'd been to the one I was trying to become. The breeze stirred the loose strands of her hair, the river's light catching in her eyes. Finally, she walked past me toward the fire pit near the hut. "You are a stubborn man," she said quietly. "Maybe," I said, following. "Or maybe I finally found something worth being stubborn for." That made her stop. Her shoulders rose and fell with a slow breath. "You know nothing of me. You know only the woman who pulled you from the water." "Then tell me more," I said. "Tell me about the rest." She glanced at me, her face caught between resistance and weariness. "My husband's name was Nanton. He was a hunter. The river took him 3 winters ago. Since then, I live alone. That is my way." I nodded, feeling the weight of her loss. "Then let me live beside that river with you. I don't ask you to change your way, just to let me be part of it." She looked up at the sky, as if asking the wind what it thought of such a thing. Then she walked into her hut and came back holding something small wrapped in leather. She handed it to me. Inside was a carved piece of bone shaped like a hawk in flight. "In my people's tongue," she said softly, "this means claimed by the wind. The wind goes where it wants. No one owns it, but it remembers the hands that freed it." I held the token carefully, the smooth surface warm from her touch. "And now you give it to me." She nodded. "The river tried to claim you. The wind took you instead. Maybe that is why you are here." Her voice trembled on the last word, and something inside me broke open. I stepped closer, close enough to see the tears she was trying not to let fall. "Then let the wind carry us both," I whispered. Her eyes met mine, no longer defiant, but soft, uncertain, alive. She reached up slowly, her fingertips brushing my cheek. The touch was light, almost reverent, and in that moment, I felt every mile, every fear, every ache wash away. The fire crackled behind us, the river whispered on. And when she finally spoke, her words came like a vow wrapped in breath. "Then you are hers," she said, her hand still on my face. "The river gave you back. Now, you belong to me." I didn't argue. I didn't need to. I just stood there beside her, the world around us silent but for the steady song of water and wind, and for the first time in my life, I felt exactly where I was meant to be.